two teams to get together, but we have two great wrestlers in the very first match.
Sheldon Thomas came out of high school. They thought he was too small, but not Jack Davis. He knew how to win. Win he has this year. He's undefeated, and he was the outstanding wrestler at the Las Vegas tournament, ranked number 2, going against number 1. Can it get any better than this? Mike Mena, All-American last year, 4-time state champion out of Illinois, outstanding wrestler at this year's Midlands. Two outstanding wrestlers going after each other, number 1 versus number 2. Then we go to 190. Brian Stout, a freshman last year. That didn't stop him. All-American for Clarion as a freshman. He's got a lot of tools. He's just learning how to use them. But he's going to have to use them fast tonight because he's going up against number 1, Joel Sherritt. Joel Sherritt was a runner-up as a sophomore. Last year as a junior, he won the championship. He's going for his second NCAA championship. He's ranked number 1. Everybody's out to get him.
Now, I saw Clarion lose to Iowa State by 1 point. You may have seen that or read about it, but they gave up 2 matches because of injuries. Now, here they go against Iowa. What do they have to do to win?
Well, I don't know about winning. I don't even think Jack Davis is thinking about winning. He came in here to get experience so he could go into those NCAAs prepared. He'd like to win 2 or 3 matches, but the key is to win 2 or 3 matches against Iowa, you've got to upset him. So he's looking for a couple of upsets to get his team up and going.
I think there's going to be a lot of fun before we're through here. And we also want to have a chance to talk to you about a couple of interesting rule changes. We'll explain them for you. We'll also try to tell you what's happened in the world of wrestling lately and what's going to be happening soon, we think. But the big idea is the match. And here we go. It's Clarion Golden Eagles versus the Iowa Hawkeyes. We'll be back in just a moment on Iowa Public Television.
It happens every day. It doesn't stop when you reach a certain age. We're all of us learning, even now. You see something in a person's face and see all they struggle to learn. It could be we are here solely to remind each other what must not be missed or ignored, but celebrated. When do we stop learning? Maybe never.
In Chinese medicine, that the body has to move.
We're back at CARBAUGH Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City for the match between the Clarion Golden Eagles and the Iowa Hawkeyes in a series that has gone this way. Iowa's won the last meeting. Let's take a look at the matchups very quickly here. The boys at 118 are just getting ready to start, and they are started now. It's Thomas against Mena. We'll show you the matchups as we go along here. Now, the black, of course, is Iowa. The dark blue is the team from Clarion. They're the Clarion Golden Eagles. These are numbers 1 against number 2. That's really something, Tim, to be an outstanding wrestler from one big tournament against the outstanding wrestler from the other big tournament.
Well, this won't be the first time they meet. I mean, this is the first time they meet, but this year, but it won't be the last time. They'll meet probably at the All-Star meet. They'll meet again in the NCAAs, I'm sure. And so this is going to be quite a rivalry. They're both just sophomores.
Here we go, center.
This is a start of something big as far as rivalry, I think. They wrestled last year. Sheldon Thomas has grown up a little bit. He was a little bit small. Mike Mena handled him last year.
A little bit of a shot by Thomas, but he was not in good position to make anything of it. Mena was not able to counter for points either. You notice that there's the Iowa position. They have the man up against the sideline, and they like to push. They like to be aggressive.
Well, underhook and in close is a lot better than overhook and out to the side as far as Dan Gable's concerned. And he says that's the position that we can score on and win. I don't think anybody in the nation's any better at defense from the takedown position than Mike Mena. He's the best. He's just got to continue working on being able to snap down, get around. He's got a tremendous front headlock that is lethal out there, so he's dangerous. And Sheldon Thomas is going to have to mix and match and maybe strategize a little more than he has in the past against Mena. You can't go all out and spend all your energy and not get anywhere like so many do against Mena.
Well, if you'll remember, it's a 3-minute first period. They start on their feet. 2-minute second period, 2-minute third period, and provided the match hasn't been stopped by a fall or something there. There's a nice shot by young Mr. Thomas. He's in deep on then, and he's given the 2 by Pullman. And the Golden Eagles have scored first.
That was a big 2 points for Sheldon Thomas because Sheldon Thomas is good in all positions.
Now I get a chance to look at the matchups there. There's going to be a forfeit at 126. It's unfortunate because 2 very good wrestlers from the Golden Eagles are both hurt at 26, and those are the upper weights there. We'll be telling you more about the wrestlers as we get to them. Referee's position here with 1:05 left to go in the first period. This is Sheldon Thomas leading Mike Mena 2-0. I said I saw the Golden Eagles wrestle against Iowa State. And I want to tell you, Sheldon Thomas was behind 4-1 with 30 seconds left in the match. He had been gunned by Mr. Cruz of Iowa State, and he won the match in the last 30 seconds with 5 points. Now it's 2-1. Mena's out with just about 40 seconds to go in the first period. And I know Dan Gable would like his man to get the last takedown in the first period.
You mentioned Iowa State's Cruz. He's a tough wrestler, and mark of a champion is a wrestler that's able to come out like Sheldon Thomas has from the East Coast, come into enemy territory and pull out the close ones like he did. And now he's ahead 2-1 right here in CARBAUGH Hawkeye against Mena from the Hawkeyes.
2-1 with about 15 to go. You'll notice that Mena on the right.
Here we go. Center in.
Is a fine counter wrestler, and I believe that Thomas knows that. Don't see a Kelly very often these days, do you?
Well, I'll tell you, Mena has the ability, and that's what Dan Gable, right there as you're looking at him, legendary coach, the best there is, wants him to do is get after it and turn on his offense because, like I said, defensively he can keep the best of them away from him, but in the first period, Sheldon Thomas cracked that, and that's an important 2-point takedown that he accomplished in that first period.
2-0 in favor of the Golden Eagles, second-ranked Clarion's Sheldon Thomas against Mike Mena of Iowa, who started on the underneath side this position in the second period, and Thomas cut off the first move against Mena, leading 2-1, but not the second.
You know, Sheldon Thomas really has grown up this year. He was considered too small coming out of high school by many, but I think he looks like a good-sized 118-pounder, especially when you consider that Mena is a big 118-pounder.
Locked up again in the center, Keith Pullman of Charles City. We've seen him officiate many of these matches on Iowa Public Television. Sheldon Thomas against Mike Mena, and it's important. There's all as these opening matches are, but particularly because of these two men each think they should win.
Oh, that's right. You're looking at 8 state championships between the two of them. Both four-time state champions. Sheldon Thomas probably didn't get the respect being in from Delaware. It's not known for its wrestling, but you know, it's an individual thing, and good coaches and good recruiters with good eyes go out there and they look for what they're looking at and what they saw in Sheldon Thomas.
There's that front headlock by Mena. Beautiful move.
And you know it's coming, and when somebody's the best at what they do, it's just, you just can't stop it.
It's a wonderful move by Mena off the front headlock, and it's not as if it was a surprise, I think, to Thomas that he was in the front headlock, but maybe the move that he pulled off was. 4-2 with 45 seconds to go in the second period, and now Mena up by 2, banging away at his opponent from Clarion in the top position. Returns him to earth again after an attempt to move. Crowd wanted back points there, but there was no way they were going to get him. 4-2 with 25 seconds to go. Iowa and Clarion, you're just in time to see the meet because this is the first match between two outstanding 118-pounders.
There's Coach Jack Davis, who is with Bob Bubb, one of the top wrestling coaches that we have throughout the nation. He took over for Bob. This is his 3rd year. He was with Bob for 17 years, so he's been at Clarion for 20 years. He's loyal. He loves the school. And when he goes out and recruits, he says, you just got to believe in your program in the school, and that's what sells the kids. And he has gotten some of the best recruits in the nation, and he's known as one of the best recruiting coaches in the nation.
Thomas comes up, tried to roll, a Granby roll. You'll see Clarion roll a little bit more than most teams do. There's another one, and it may work. This is Thomas trying to come around to reverse Mena, and he did it. But he couldn't keep him on his back. It's now 4-4 with 4 seconds to go, and that was a very timely move by Thomas, Tim.
Well, like I said, Sheldon Thomas is no stranger to Mike Mena. He's wrestled him before, and he's been on the other end of it, and he's just up for this match. And that's the worst time you can give up points is the last 5 seconds of a
15 seconds.
Period. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I was looking at how Sheldon Thomas was setting up there. That's a little bit different, and I was kind of caught off. He does have a little bit different of underneath beginning there.
Mena decided that rather than try to ride, he is going to go on the feet.
But that's why I have you here, Doug, because see, when I don't know what I'm going to say, you know, we've been working together so long.
It's 5-4 in favor of Thomas. Mena gave up a point, assuming that he's going to get 2 back. But they each have had a takedown. Thomas had the first one, Mena had the second, but there's that front headlock again. Mena looks very comfortable out in front there now, doesn't he?
Well, that's where he likes to be, and he likes to control. And if he's got the situation in hand right now, though, he needs to score. Got less than a minute and a half left, and he's behind 5-4, so he needs to score a takedown.
Number 1 ranked Iowa Hawkeyes 118-pounder Mike Mena against 3rd ranked Clarion's man who just missed a move off a headlock. Here's the front headlock again by Mena. Now he tried to whip him over and came around behind. It worked, 6-5 now.
Right, it's going to be hard against somebody like Sheldon Thomas to get more than 2 points off that front headlock, because Sheldon Thomas knows that if he fights it once he's been beaten.
The escape makes it 6-6. Beautiful double leg now by Mena.
See that?
55 seconds to go, and he has scored again, 8-6.
That's what Mike Mena needs to do to be able to win the national championship. That's be able to complement that front headlock with good single and double leg shots.
Roll again.
That was a great double leg.
Out of bounds.
Out of bounds with about 40 seconds to go here. It's been an action-packed match. 3 takedowns for Mena has been the difference. He's up 8-6.
Here we go, guys. Clarion.
Thomas of Clarion has a takedown in the first period. He got the first takedown in the match, and he reversed at the end of the second on a couple of rolls, and is now down 8-6. Mena on top. Riding time, he has 42 seconds. He may try to get the minute. There's the roll again. Try to go out the back door.
See, he's got what he's trying to do is get Mike Mena's hips down.
And a reversal. He's a tough kid in there on that bottom, isn't he?
Well, it's 8-8. There's no riding time, and so an escape. Now Sheldon Thomas has to take him down. And you're going to see Mena go into what he does best, and that's defensing the legs. Whoa.
Oh, no, he went right under the arms.
He was able to stop it.
And that's the first time one of the wrestlers has been ahead by more than 2 points. It is Mena by 3.
That's a good match by Mena right here. It's both of them wrestled a good match, but it was very good.
Excellent match. A wonderful match. 11-8. Zach Davis was irritated about something. I think he locked hands.
Yeah, they gave Mena 2 points for takedown, and then he locked his hands. And if you're in control and they're saying you're in control, you can't lock your hands.
And riding time is counted. He managed to go over the minute with just the waning seconds of that match. There's Mike Mena. He had 3 takedowns in the last period, and every single takedown came off a different move.
That's right, and I think that's the key to Mike Mena improving and winning a national championship. He just beat the number 2 ranked wrestler, and he had to pull it out, and he had to pull out some moves that he hadn't been using and doesn't have to use all the time, because this Sheldon Thomas is tough.
He sure is. It's 3-0 now in favor of Iowa. They come out with a very big one they had to get. Now it's going to be 9-0 because at 126, Clarion has the misfortune of having 2 injured wrestlers. And Jeff McGinnis raises his hand, has referee Pullman raise his hand, and he wins 6 points for his team just by that. 9-0.
And Jeff McGinnis has had a good year. Maybe we'll be able to talk about it a little later, but he's started out well.
Now, I'll tell you what, I think, Tim, this is going to be a barn burner match. There is a fine senior from Iowa who's having a wonderful year, Kevin Hogan.
Yeah, Kevin Hogan's having a great year.
And TOMEO is wrestling for the Clarion Golden Eagles. He's a tough kid. Looks very good with a lot of balance. He's in on the leg against Hogan, but Hogan manages to pry him away.
Hogan's having a good year this year so far. He lost a lot of close matches last year, and this year so far he's only lost a couple of times. And that's a good start for Kevin Hogan. He's a tough competitor, and he just has had some injury problems.
There's TOMEO again, taking a shot at the leg, but Hogan has dodged 2 bullets here in the first 30 seconds of the meet. Locking up the Hawkeye in the black against the Golden Eagle from Clarion in the blue.
Jack Davis, the coach from Clarion, says that he's got a really... He says that TOMEO's a really hard-nosed grinder. Not very flashy, but that was a nice outside single there.
Yes, it was. And he hasn't made it count, though, yet, and I think Hogan looks like he's in pretty good shape now.
Most of these guys are meet-you-in-the-middle type wrestlers. Hogan won't back off anybody, and it looks like TOMEO is the kind of come straight at you, too.
Break, stalemate, center.
Hogan, a senior.
Neutral.
Turns out he's had a fine year so far. There's Dan Gable on the left, Tom Brands on the right. This is Tom Brands' old weight, 134. No score here, although the shots have been taken by TOMEO of Clarion.
Hogan's kind of been the hard luck kid for Iowa. He's had a couple of broken hands in the last couple of years. Look
There's
at
a
that.
move by
Nothing
Hogan.
wrong with his hands there because he chopped old TOMEO down to the mat, put his head on the mat, and spun around him. But
First time he made a shot. That's the first one he made it work. It's 2-1 after the escape. Iowa and Clarion, number 1 against number 3. This time TOMEO drops in on a high leg. You see if he can do something with it. He hasn't been able. Now he has a double leg. Can he score with it? He can. 2-2. 3-2.
Bottom shoulder, bottom shoulder. Elevate his legs and drag.
We have less than a minute now in the first period, the 3-minute first period. TOMEO of Clarion.
And of Pennsylvania, from Grove City, Pennsylvania, and most of the wrestlers in Clarion are from Pennsylvania.
Or awful close
Or
nearby.
awful close, Delaware and New Jersey, but
That's right.
I think 8 of their starters are from Pennsylvania, and they don't have to go far to find good wrestlers because that's a great hotbed of wrestling. There's Hogan trying to spin out there, but see what TOMEO does. He keeps control of the hips there, stays in tight. Now, what he's doing is staying in tight enough that Hogan couldn't roll him through.
Caution against Hogan, off, maybe moving too quickly off the whistle. You're watching on Iowa Public Television, Iowa against Clarion. First meet of the year, college wrestling, 19th season. And TOMEO, who once had a 79-match winning streak in high school, 2-time state champion in Pennsylvania, is trying to mount up more than his 3-2 lead in there, but he can't hold Hogan. It's now 3-3.
Well, nobody's held Hogan yet this year. Nobody's ridden him, and I'll tell you, when you can get out from the Clarion wrestlers or any of the wrestlers from back east who like to ride, in fact, they like to call themselves mat rats because they like to stay on the mat more than we do out here in the Midwest, where we're more takedown artists and like to stay on our feet.
Now there's TOMEO again on the low leg. Now Pullman had called a warning against somebody for stalling, and they don't stop the match for it, so we have to keep our eyes open to see who it was.
They didn't give 2 points because the supporting points weren't down on the mat. There's Tom Brand coaching Hogan at the weight that he has he dominated when he was wrestling for the Hawkeyes as a national champion several times.
Hogan was warned.
Your time red.
The warning went against Hogan just before TOMEO took a shot and was then able to score. There you see Kevin Hogan on the left with Dan Gable.
Okay, cut
Another little victory for Kevin Hogan because usually it's him that's taking the time out for the injury. He's had so many injuries over the last couple of years. And
what is it? He has a nerve in the neck, something like that?
Pinched nerve in the neck. He's had neck problems from a vehicle accident. He's had broken hands for the last couple of years, and it's just great to see him come back and healthy.
Top man, set.
3-3, second period, 2 minutes long. Clarion against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now you notice that the stalling call did not stop the match. That's one of the things that happens this year. For such things as stalling and penalties, it's not necessary for the referee to stop the match.
Yeah, they haven't been stopping it when they were in neutral position or the person underneath. But this year, if you're on top and you're called for stalling, they've added that and said, yes, we're not going to stop the match there. It doesn't make much sense to me. If you're stalling from the top, they should stop the match and give that underneath person another chance to start up. But
well, it's controversial. There's no doubt about that. We have used 30 seconds, and still TOMEO is in the control position. They go out of bounds. Pullman brings the Hawkeye Hogan back to the center with the Golden Eagle, there's Jack Davis.
Jack's considered one of the best recruiters in the nation. He's been showing it the last couple of years where, as taking over the head coach, he's put in some stallions into his lineup, and they're coming through, and they're young.
TOMEO has riding time already, a minute now. He's trying to build it. Whoever at the end of the match, if one wrestler has a minute more of riding time in the control position than the other man, he gets a point. They tack it on to the score, as you know.
Well, Hogan right here now is getting ridden, and this TOMEO is a tough rider. He likes to control the wrists. He's working in on that wrist all the time, and he'd love to come up and maybe work a bar or something. Look for a tilt.
There's a warning against the top man.
And this is the difference then.
I'm not surprised. Clarion say they don't like to let people up and turn them loose. And it's hard to tell. They could get into a situation like this where their style gets called for stalling.
That's right, and especially when they come out here for the NCAAs or in the tournament wrestling. I think that the referees are not going to stand for that. Hogan just got out again, keeping his string alive and not being ridden, and now he needs to not only protect but be on the offense.
He leads 4-3. 4-3. Each man has a takedown, although Hogan really has made one shot. He was successful with it. Now there's a point. That is a point because Hogan was called for backing out. And it's now 4-4.
No.
4-4.
Break it, guys. Center.
Stalemate, back to the
Action,
center.
guys. You've been warned again, Iowa. Here we go, set.
4-4. Kevin Hogan of Iowa with his back to you. That's TOMEO of Clarion in Pennsylvania at the end of the second period, 4-4.
Takes down, third period. Here we go, set.
TOMEO gets his choice.
I think this is one of the cases where TOMEO's, he's coming on, he's just off wrestling a real tough Wilkes tournament, and he's really, there's Jack Davis looking on, and he's really feeling good, and conditioning may come into a factor here. Hogan, like I said, coming back from injury-riddled 2 years, probably isn't at the top of his game, probably is, this is where the, you know, where he gets tested in this last period.
That's right. Iowa won the first test in a tough one, Mena against Thomas. And the Hawkeye won by getting 3 points late in the period, the last period. You know, we'll see what happens here. There's the Golden Eagle in for a long shot, but he's too far away, and he's not in good position this time.
It's just a matter of whether Hogan's body will let him go, because, you know, your spirit wants to, but your body just may not go where you want it to go, and that might be the case. Hogan needs to.
Take it, guys. Right here. Stalemate.
TOMEO was able to get his position back, and referee Pullman calls a stalemate with a minute 20 to go. 5-4 in favor of the Golden Eagle. TOMEO tried to shuck Hogan's arms out of there and then go under, but it didn't work.
Oh, you're spilling. One red.
Now there's a point against the other way. Now it's 5-5.
And he just snapped him down.
6-4. Is that possible? 6-4. Yes, a penalty again against Hogan.
Just running out of steam here. Just doesn't have that 1 or 2 minutes left in the last couple of minutes there, and that's what Gable needs to work on. I'm sure that's what he's looking at. We've got to get him 1 or 2 more minutes of shape there.
Stalemate with 47 seconds to go at 134 pounds between Iowa and Clarion. It's 9-0. Iowa won a real dinger at 118, Mena over Thomas, and then had a forfeit of 126. 6-4 in favor of Clarion's TOMEO. That's by no means
and he
solid,
also has riding time.
That's right.
So it's technically a 3-point deal.
Shoots for a double leg.
See, Hogan's just gassed. I mean, that's all there is to it, Doug. And it happens. And it's not something that will be happening in that weight class in February, whether it's Hogan or somebody else.
13 seconds to go now, and Hogan has to get, well, he needs 3 points in 13 seconds starting from the equal position. And he got 2, or he almost has 2. Now he has it.
But the riding time's going to win for TOMEO.
Riding time goes to TOMEO, and on the board go the Clarion Golden Eagles. It's 9 for Iowa and 3 for Clarion. Well, we're 3 matches in. There's TOMEO. He's looks like a real prospect.
He's tough. He's one of those young recruits that have come on for him, and there's Rob Eider talking with him. Rob Eider, an Olympic candidate. Speaking of Olympic candidates, there's Royce Alger standing behind Dan Gable. And both these rooms, these wrestling rooms, have top-notch people to work out with their wrestlers.
Now we're at 142 pounds between Iowa and Clarion, and Bill ZADICK, who came to Iowa from Montana. Steps onto the mat for the Hawks, and his opponent from Pennsylvania is a freshman from Titusville, Pennsylvania. Just a raw freshman right out of high school, if you don't mind me saying so, Charlie CARBAUGH. CARBAUGH has a losing record this year, and this is one that Iowa hopes to win, and they hope to win big.
Well, and I'll tell you, you better be ready to go with ZADICK. He's looking good this year, and he's in the lineup for good last year. He had a good start, but it was abbreviated because of academic problems. He doesn't have academic problems this year, and he's up a weight class. He's really not a weight cutter, and he feels real comfortable at 142.
CARBAUGH decides to try to headlock him on the edge of the mat, loses the headlock, but gets back into position again, and manages to throw ZADICK out of bounds before ZADICK could take him down.
There we go.
There's Terry Brands, the other half of the Brands duo, the dynamic duo. A couple of world champions there.
Tough on the international scene.
This ZADICK, he's tough right here on the domestic scene, I'll tell you, because he's got everything. And I'll tell you,
he's a little out of position at the moment with CARBAUGH front headlock.
At the Midlands, he beat the number 2 and number 3 ranked wrestlers, and he's just had a wonderful first part of the year, and now they're into the second season, and this is when everybody gets serious and starts getting honed.
Last year he lost one match. Kerry Kolat, Penn State.
Well, not Penn State anymore. Colat's in the midst of transferring to Lock Haven. That'll be, what a boon for Lock Haven, huh?
No score. Charlie CARBAUGH, pardon me for saying what I knew better than. My typewriter slipped, and I came up with a tar instead of a car. You'd think you'd know the difference, right? Charlie CARBAUGH has a brother on this team, too. On the edge of the mat, still no score. We have 1 minute and 15 in the first period, out of bounds.
ZADICK came out of high school, top credentialed wrestler and number 1 ranked wrestler at his weight class and first team All-American, and Iowa got him. In fact, this Iowa team's laden with credentialed wrestlers. It's probably the best credentials from high school that Dan's ever had in a lineup. You got 4-time state champions up and down the lineup, and you've got a 5-time state champion who we're going to see a little later.
There's the first takedown of the match for ZADICK. He came in on a double leg. He's the aggressor, there's no question about it. He's trying to just overwhelm CARBAUGH and maybe intimidate him a little bit here until and that's the first sign of it.
Here we go.
Trying to keep up with all the pressure. 2-0 ZADICK.
One escape.
Now CARBAUGh is out. It's 2-1. With 46 seconds to go.
Front headlock to cross
He
ankle.
could turn this into back points.
Look at he's got a headlock potential. Headlock potential. Now he's driving the arm.
Oh, look at this. CARBAUGh has to hustle to keep from getting pinned. It's a near fall, no doubt. It's a 3-point near fall and a 5-point move. Now he has the half Nelson.
This is big for ZADICK because he's really not much of a pinner as much as coach would like him to be. And
7-1 and a 5-point move.
the more he gets used to putting the opponents on the back, the more he gets used to how he did it. So.
Here we go. Action.
Now that turns things around in a big hurry. 7-1. It goes from 2-1 to 7-1 just like that. Keith Pullman steps in. He wants to examine the way ZADICK is putting that hammer lock on. There's the end of the first period. Maybe we can get another look at that move.
Just needed to get a little more chest to chest. He's chest to chest now, and if he could just keep that space from being created, throw that half in there. But the Clarion wrestler still got enough steam left in this first part of the match to fight his way out.
He was able to bridge up there and turn, and it's now 7-1 with the second period starting. This time ZADICK starts underneath. First time he's been there tonight. Gets to his feet right away against CARBAUGh, turns
That's
in
good
and
stand-up. Use good hand control. Then he'd come right back in. Single, cut off to the double. Come around, still moving, putting a lot of chain moves together. That's the key right there, chain moves. What you saw the young wrestlers watch ZADICK there. He came out, got his hips out, controlled the hands, came out for one, and dropped right back into the single, cut off to the double. And he still doesn't have the points, but he's getting after it.
Well, what you're looking at right now is a wrestler who has decided he can just overpower his opponent. You can see the mental edge has gone to ZADICK just 100%.
Well, the keys right there was hand control coming out and then coming right back in, looking for a lot of different moves to put together, and he did.
Got to take it over the side at the elbow, not the wrist. Back down.
Pullman says that is just a little bit too dangerous to try that out front. And the way it was going.
Set.
Jack Davis has to feel good right now as Sheldon Thomas gave men a good match. I'm sure they wanted to win. TOMEO won a tough match at 134, and you know, sometimes
Top
so
man.
many coaches have walked out of here goosed. You know,
Oh,
no wins at all, and that would have. That's something that Jack Davis probably had in the back of his mind, and he can forget about it now. He's
Well,
put
I'm
three
sure-
big ones on the board.
But I'm sure that if he were not to win another one tonight, he wouldn't be too happy about
Right.
it. And there's a point for the escape, makes it 10-2. But here comes ZADICK right after his man again, trying to horse him over in the back with that crossface. CARBAUGH's managed to stay out of the near fall position so far. 50 seconds to go here, and ZADICK is in full control.
Clarion, they've got a great tradition. I remember in 1974, Gary Barton, Bill Simpson, and Wade Chalice all won national championships in Division I, and they were Division II at the time, and that's when you could move up. They won national championships, the three of them in Division II, and then they came up and won them all that year. Great tradition. Small school, and they only get about half the aid that a big school like Iowa gives, and so got to give them a lot of credit for their emphasis on wrestling and how they're doing.
CARBAUGH has just been called for a penalty underneath, and that is, after a warning, makes it 13-2.
Should be 10-3, I think.
Oh no, is he calling it the other way around? I'm not sure. I'll tell you, this not stopping is a
10-3.
difficult thing.
Charlie, get up. Let's go.
Red's choice. With that one warning penalized, it was 9-3. Should it not be 10-3? With I gave one. He's had 2 warnings on him. Is that correct? No, there was no escape, no takedown, but his second warning right there should have been 1 more point. Is that right?
We thought you gave us 2 points.
No, I took that away. There was no 1 escape, no 2 takedown, but there was a second warning there, which I think should have made it 10. 11-1.
Now you hear the official is mic'd,
go.
as you can tell. That's one of the things
Red's
we do
choice.
here on Iowa
Takes
Public
down.
Television's College Wrestling
Neutral.
Series. So you can hear what the crowd cannot hear, the official talking to the bench. And now they come up with a score of 11-1.
Circle.
That's because he took away the escape and the second takedown. He decided he didn't want to count those. And then the point that went for stalling against the Clarion man goes to ZADICK, makes it 11-1.
Let him in.
That's what I think had to happen. We have a minute and a half to go here in the second period. ZADICK leads by 10.
Out of bounds.
We're getting to the point,
Easy does it. Easy does it.
Tim, where we have to
Here
talk about the new rule about
Match termination?
Match termination.
There's a man that doesn't really like it too much. He doesn't have any problem with the not getting any more points, but he says we've eliminated, this is Coach Gable I'm talking about, we've eliminated the knockout punch. Just like boxing has it, the underdog can always win up until now, but now if you get 15 points ahead, the match is over.
There is ZADICK in the horse position, and ZADICK was the bigger horse. 13-1 on the takedown.
Bring your knee under.
And you only get 4 points.
Yes,
That's the difference.
We stop at 15, but we do not call it
Control the
we
wrist
don't call it
and
a
come up.
technical fall anymore.
Right.
And so you either get 4 points or you get 6 if you pin. No such thing as 5 anymore.
And of course, they're really trying to, rules committee, they're really trying to emphasize the pin and to put the excitement into wrestling. The fans want to see the pin, and they're trying to emphasize going for
48
the pin.
seconds left.
Here's the inside position by Bill ZADICK, and he gets his hips in, and he drops down to the middle torso right there, tries to stay with it, boom, in for 2 points. Now,
1 escape.
Clarion wrestler just trying to scramble out.
The escape, as we go back to live action again, makes it 13-2. ZADICK is expected to win here. This is not.
That's 2 takedown, 2.
This is not an experienced wrestler for Clarion, and he just went down for the 5th time on a takedown. 15-2.
ZADICK doesn't lose many opportunities, and that's what is the mark of a good wrestler, a top wrestler.
Well, he has riding time too, Tim, but if he gets one more takedown, this match is history.
Arsenal.
With 26 seconds to go, he could end it early.
That's
Get
1.
high.
Now
That's
it's 15-3. Goes underneath. High crotch. I was going to say that was like a
Belly down.
fireman's carry without the fire.
Going to try to finish it off here in the last few seconds. He's going to have to go another period.
Great, guys.
And that's it.
There isn't another period.
15-3, 16-3 when you add the riding time. That's a major decision for Bill ZADICK of Iowa. And he puts his team up by 4 more points. It's 13-3 after 4 matches.
There's a young man that's just going to get better all year, and he's having a great year so far. And then talk about great. Here's Lincoln McElravy, 2-time NCAA champion.
In 2 tries. He came right out of high school and won an NCAA championship. And he would normally in this situation perhaps be going up against Moss Graves, a co-captain of Clarion, but he suffered quite a severe eye injury. Some 60% of his retina is apparently still damaged. His eye looks awful, and he had to default against Iowa State's 150-pounder, and so he's not here. And in is Matt Perneski, a sophomore from Falls Creek, Pennsylvania, Du Bois High School, who is a walk-on and has a 2-5 record coming into this match.
Talk about tough. You never yourself placed in the high school tournament. You're a walk-on, and you're going up against a 5-time, the only 5-time state champion I've ever heard of. And
he won in 8th grade, right?
Right, in 8th grade. And you're going on to his hometown right here in his home mat. And Lincoln McElravy, if he's had any problems starting up early and getting going in the first few seconds up till now, he didn't have any problems right now. And that's one of the things that Coach Gable would like to see him do, is turn it on in those first 30 seconds. We know he can turn it on throughout 7 minutes. But
it's interesting, you know, last year he had 27-0 record all year, first everywhere, 1 fall. The year before he was 22-2, 1 fall. This year he's 5-0. 3 falls. So there's a little change there.
Well, he's developed, he's a little more merciful, because I'll bet a lot of those wrestlers that didn't get pinned by him wished he would have pinned him, because I'm sure that it was kind of embarrassing.
Now he's really in a tough position. I think this is going to end it right here. He did. Woo! 1 minute and 2.
Well, I'd say there's a guy that's ready to go for the 1995 year. There's his wife. They've been married over just a little over a year now, and things are good for Lincoln McElravy.
How about that? 19-3. There are the Happy Hawk fans in CARBAUGH Hawkeye Arena. This is the first home meet of the year for the Hawks.
Look at this arm right here. He runs it right here, and he's looking to... He's not going to jump out to this side. Look, he's got a half Nelson in. No, he's got the wrist right there. Pulls it around. Now he pulls down on the shoulder. Front headlock. Chest to chest right there.
No chance. No
Look
chance.
at that. Boy, he's one of those, when he smells it, he doesn't let it go.
So, welcome to Division I Wrestling for Matt Perneski. It's a tough match. You know, 30 years from now, he'll be telling his grandchildren about that.
I like everything. He'll probably tell him he lasted until the 2nd period. You know how it all...
Clarion against Iowa, and here we are at the end of the 150-pound match. We're going to be back. We hope you're enjoying Iowa Public Television's coverage, and Tim and I will be back. We'll talk about college wrestling news. We'll update the new rule system, the current college wrestling. We'll look at statistics from the first half. It's all coming up after our intermission here at 150 pounds on Iowa Public Television, a resource for Iowa's future.
A resource for Iowa's future. Iowa Public Television.
Here we are, back again with Iowa Public Television's coverage of the first meet of our season, the 19th season. It's Iowa against Clarion, the number 1 against the number 3 team. It's 19-3 after the first 5 weights. Iowa got a nice easy 6 with a forfeit early, but there were some couple of very fine matches, and then we saw Lincoln McElravy got a big pin. Tim Johnson and I are going to be talking about a couple of things here. The first thing we want to do is tell you what we have ahead of you for the season. We're so happy to be back in this 19th season. And here's what we have. We'll be around on 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoons, Arizona State and Iowa. And boy, those national team duels, we're beginning to think that's the event of the year in a lot of ways. We'll have it live from Nebraska. Minnesota against Iowa on the 29th. That's the January schedule. We'll also be here through February. You'll see Iowa State in northern Iowa, Oklahoma State in Iowa, Nebraska in northern Iowa. That Oklahoma State Iowa is going to be the special Saturday night coverage. And then Iowa State will also be a same night, just slightly delayed coverage on Saturday, 18th of February, before these teams get ready to go for the national tournaments. And there are a number of teams that think they're going to be in this national tournament. You know, Iowa doesn't just, everybody else just doesn't roll over, right?
Well, they're not planning on it. And Dan Gable certainly is telling his team they're not automatic. But a lot of the people out there say if they don't get injured and they keep improving, Iowa's automatic in the fight for second place.
You know, they started that out at the very beginning of the year. They went out to Penn State, which was going to be a tough team. Penn State won one match.
One match, the heavyweight match. I think Iowa really is the team to be beat this year, and I think that barring injuries, and if they keep improving, they're going to be awful tough to overcome.
But there's some good things coming close to home. I think Iowa State is a much improved team. Well, they're young, and they're going to be tough before the year's over. They have some very good individuals.
I think especially in the dual meet situation, I think Clarion is really going to be tough when it comes to the national tournament. Oklahoma State, but they just lost Jacob Newby, who transferred to OU. That's going to make a big difference. An All-American out of their lineup.
Well, and Arizona State is coming up little by little. They have Jeff Thyler in there and Marcus Malika, some other people. And there are fine individuals all over the place. That's what we have in college wrestling. They're all going by a little bit different rules. We had a chance to talk about these rules in the first half of the meet here just a little bit. Kind of interesting titles we gave them there. Match termination, you saw that. No more technical falls. At 15 points, the match stops, but it's only 4.
Only 4 points, and so the real emphasis is if they're going to get big points, they're going to get pins. The no-stop rule, we talked about that. If you're stalling on top now, they'll call you for stalling, but they won't stop the match like they have in the past. And then the scream rule, Doug?
That's a nickname. That's a name that the coaches call it. What happens often is a wrestler, well, not too often, fortunately, a wrestler on the bottom is just about to be put into a pin position. And suddenly he screams and says, "I'm hurt." Well, that saves him. Maybe he's hurt, maybe he's not. What happens? It doesn't hurt him in the past. Now, if he goes into a near fall position, you just add a point. If you were in a 2-point near fall position, if you had 2 points, now they give you an extra one, 3, no matter what happens, whether you're hurt or not. And it's a 3-point. You can now have a 4-point near fall.
You can get a 4-point near fall now, and it's justice.
And if it happened during a takedown, it was something that's imminent, no longer imminent. It counts. So there is a penalty for stopping somewhere along the line. That's one of the new rules. And I don't think there's a lot of complaint about that one, is there?
No.
People like that. Well, we're about ready to go here again, too. We wanted to show you, too, what happened in the first 5 matches. We actually had 4 because one was a forfeit. Those are the total individual points people scored. The top there is 19-3 Iowa over Clarion. Takedowns, just what you'd expect with that kind of a score, 12-2. Near falls, McElravy had it. Riding time points. But Iowa dominated in the first half here, with ZADICK winning a big 16-3 major decision at 142. There were a couple of very good matches, close matches, one of which Iowa won. That was at 118 between the numbers 1 and 2 people. 12-8. Man made an escape and a takedown right at the very end to beat Thomas. Then at 134, TOMEO used riding time to beat Kevin Hogan 7-6. Now at 158, here's Darrell Weber of Iowa, 158 pounds against Paul Antonio.
Weber's just a really tough kid, and he's got a great attitude, and he just gets after it. He's dedicated, and he makes his own breaks. He's just one of those kind of wrestlers that you want on the team, and leads by example.
I was going to say, he goes wherever he's needed. He went to 142 last year because that's where Dan needed him to go.
Now he's at a weight more suited to himself, and he's having a good year.
Now, Paul Antonio from Newcastle, Delaware, there's a non-Pennsylvania guy, he's right across the border, is a junior. He can wrestle at 67 as well as 58. His coach says that he's very good on the mat.
Stalemate, center, neutral.
Always likes to wrestle hard. He finished 4th at Las Vegas. He was a 3-time champion in the state of Delaware. No score yet in the first 3-minute period. There's Weber in tight. Looks like he's in good shape for a takedown here, but he doesn't have it yet.
That's 2.
Now he has. Antonio had to bail out. Nice takedown by Darrell Weber.
So he likes to use that arm bar, and he likes to ride and looking for the pin. What he's got to do is keep his opponent broken down so he can work it.
And the arm bar is being used more, but it's still tough. There are a lot of officials who don't like to let the arm bar go at all. And
on the mat.
You just got to get to.
That's 1. Out of bounds. Neutral.
And that arm bar, you've got to get it tight, and you've got to get it so that maybe you kind of do a little hide and seek with the referee, and he doesn't see how you did it until you've got it halfway over and you're driving. So a little strategy involved there.
1:25 to go in the first period. This is the 158-pound match. Weber locks up. Bear hug, and he gets the 2. Antonio had to bail out of that one, too, or go on his back. Nice move by Weber. 4-1. Weber dominating here in the early going at 158 pounds.
Break.
Weber got inside nice there, right there, and he sometimes has a tendency for shooting too far from the outside, but he got in close, and then he had the body lock there, comes down, knees, controls the hips, has the 2 points.
You know, last year, Darrell Weber lost 7 matches to people who placed in the Nationals. He was up against good people all the time.
Set, tell him.
He eventually went 6th in the NCAA.
Well, he's a good people himself because he is a high school All-American and state champion out of Don Bosco High School in Gilbertville, Iowa. And like you said, an All-American last year as a sophomore. He's only a junior and really filling in this weight class nicely. Of course,
actually, its natural weight would be 150, but who's going to replace Lincoln McElravy? That's the thing. So he goes where he can.
And to his credit, Joe Williams, an All-American last year at 158, is sitting out this year. He was a true freshman last year. He's sitting out as a redshirt because of Darrell Weber. Not that he can beat him out, but the fact that Darrell Weber fills the weight so well for Iowa, and that Joe Williams can benefit from a year in redshirting and come back yet next year as a redshirt sophomore. So hats off to Darrell Weber for being the kind of young man that can fill in and. You know, he's vying for a national championship. He's just that kind of kid. He's going to go after it.
And hats off for his 3rd takedown, too, there with a low single. Turned it into points that way.
Headgear off, hats off. I don't know. You know, let's get the right terminology.
12 seconds to go in the first period. Now, I suspect that Weber is going to try to hold on and not let Antonio out before the period is over.
Caution, bottom end. There we go.
Caution against Antonio, who knows very well what Weber is about.
There's Davis contemplating the situation right here and needing another win or 2, like you said, to go back home smiling because
that's right.
34 is going to seem a long time ago if he doesn't win another match.
5 seconds to go in the period, and it does appear that Weber is going to manage to hold on to his man and not let him out. He likes that, you know, that takedown without an answer. 6-2. He has riding time, too, 1:11. There's Dan Gable, a good shot of Dan Gable.
Well, Dan Gable has to like the takedown situation, too, because those 3 takedowns for Weber is indicative of what's been going on all night because Iowa has 15 takedowns to Clarion's 2.
Double leg, a bear hug, and a single leg. Three different maneuvers and 3 different kinds of takedown. Antonio now on top. Now we'll see what Weber does off the bottom. Antonio starting on top.
You look at Darrell's coming up, getting the hips underneath him, and now he's dropped down on top of the hips of.
Well, there's a tilt.
Great job.
Antonio got him into a good tilt position. He's
kind of lulled him into that too because it looked like Weber was coming out, and we talked about how Coach Davis said that he felt that Antonio was really good on top, and he just showed that he can be effective. There's 3 big points.
Well, that's what happens, you know. This goes to show you.
And Weber's good on the bottom too, Doug. Now look at, he came up, but he didn't get his arm free and fell right into what Antonio was looking for. Slipped in that arm bar right there, has the wrist, and gets the tilts. That's the first Clarion back points for the whole meet.
6-5 in favor of Weber on the bottom, and Antonio still has him. Now this is something Clarion's proud of. They think they're good riders. They like it when a referee will let them go and try to turn the man. And big up tilts. You see, he's trying to load up again.
Well, a referee's going to let someone go if he can show him that he can
That's
turn
right.
him, and he's already done that. So he bought him a lot of time when he turned him.
Now you see he's working on the control of the arm down below, and Weber has a little idea what he's up to now, but he still has not been able to get to his feet. Tough ride.
Right there, Antonio's got the hips down on the mat because he's got his thigh up in the air, and that's a tough play for Darryl to be.
Use it.
You know, on the leg ride, and I think...
you know, if there's, you know, legs, getting out of the legs is real important, getting off the bottom. You know, Dan Gable keeps wrestling really simple. Says we're going to teach how to offensive takedowns and defense, good defense on your feet. We're going to teach you how to escape, and we're going to teach you how to get out of the legs.
now there's a call against the top man.
Everything else is gravy, and right now Darryl Weber needs to get up and get out.
A warning against Antonio on top. Jack Davis was not pleased about it, but it was to be anticipated.
It's one of these lap riders, and you know, you think you're out, but you're never out.
You know, it's like if you can see the horizon, you're out, but you're not.
For 158, where that young man right there, Jim Zaleski, assistant coach, Dan Gable's right-hand man, was a 3-time national champion. Ended his career with 89 straight wins as a Hawkeye.
I remember the first when a big consequence we had on Iowa Public Television when Ricky Stewart, a great wrestler from Oklahoma State.
Pinned him, didn't he?
No, he didn't, but he got a 5-point move at the very
end. That's right,
end
5-point
of
move
the
at the
match.
end.
And I think Jimmy was a sophomore.
Third period, Brett's choice.
There's the end of the second period of a tough match. The riding time has been erased from Weber's column, and it's now 48 seconds for Antonio, which is not enough yet for a point. But he's in the position he's been dominant in over Weber. He rode him all the way through the second period. And now he starts him. And the reversal. That one didn't take long. 8-5 for Weber.
He cleared his hips nice that time, and that makes all the difference.
Yeah. You know, attention to detail right at the very beginning.
Here we go,
of the
armbar. Yeah. Go ahead.
Now the top man, Weber, is in the same position Antonio was in a while ago, except that Antonio is behind.
Clarion's down.
Well, both these young men like to ride and like to work for the pin. They do go about it a little bit different, but see how Weber got his hips up, out, and then backed
across,
over. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go. 1-2 here.
Nice move. All right. Antonio is on the bottom now as the referee's position is set up by referee Pullman. Antonio got to his feet, but Weber is he's responsible for bringing him down safely, you know, not in a slam.
Stay low, stay low. What's he doing now? That's sort of riding on top.
It's the first roll that Antonio's tried, and Weber cut it off pretty fast.
Well, Weber's got a tough ride here, and he's creating a lot of pressure, but Antonio's not doing a very good job of, wasn't doing a very good job still, of getting his hips under, and Weber let him go.
Yeah, that's right. He looked over at the bench, and I think he was told, let him out, and you can take him down again. We have 45 seconds to go. There was a possibility. It's 8-6 now. They'd like to see if he couldn't build something up here. Maybe catch Antonio and get him in a near fall position and then make a major decision out of it. Weber and Antonio, there's a missed high crotch move by Antonio, countered by Weber.
Nicely, he snapped him down and went around.
Let him up again, 10-7 in favor of the Hawk. The Iowa team leads 19-3. We're at 158 pounds, and Weber goes up to 12-7 now with 20 seconds to go. Going to try the crossface and turn him over for back points. This is where he could make it a major.
He's just got to elevate a little bit more on that leg, and he's going to be able to.
Now he has him.
Yep.
He got the 3 points. He has a major decision here if he can. He did it very nicely done by Darryl Weber, and I'm sure the Iowa coaches are proud of him.
Workmanlike there. That was a workmanlike job by Darryl Weber. That's what he's been doing all year long. He continues to improve, and tough job there by Darryl Weber.
And he did not, I believe, have riding time. 15-7, a major decision. That gets 2 4 points for Iowa, 23-3 after 158 pounds. You know, you can have close matches, you can have good matches, and a team could still win very, very big. Yeah. That's the way it is. That's Darrell Weber relaxing after winning at 158 pounds. Let's go to 167. Now here Iowa's heavily favored. Matt Narum against Joel Gilbert. Now Gilbert, who is another of the youngsters from Dubois High School in Falls Creek, has not won a match this year, but he's in on the leg, nevertheless. Joel Gilbert, a sophomore on the Clarion team, up against Matt Narum, who has experience. And he was an NCAA qualifier last year.
Two years ago.
2 years ago, that's right.
Last year he came real close to making the team at one of two weights, 67 and 77. Didn't quite do it. And he stuck it out and he's back, and he's working himself into a position of keeping hold of this weight class this year so he can go out and prove himself and be an All-American.
Set, top man.
2-0 for Narum against Gilbert. Some of the best wrestlers in this Clarion lineup are up at the top, and some of the best in the Iowa lineup are ahead of us here too. With Joel Sherrod at 190, we were talking about that match between him and Brian Stout coming up. That should be something really interesting to look forward to. Two extremely strong people, among other things.
Well, I think it's going to be a great one. I think the heavyweight match is going to be a good match, and we've got a lot to look forward to, so no one should go away. This is one of those where it's gotten away from a team standpoint, but we're looking at one of the best opponents Iowa's going to face all year. I mean,
that's right. Well, Jack Davis was talking about this.
That's how strong Iowa is.
There is Narum in very nicely on what they call the high crotch move, and he gets it up to 4-1. The leg to the other side. Now, you know, he was talking about how he doesn't have apparently enough scholarship money to give the full scholarships that he could give if he were to go all the way for the Division I number.
Right. He doesn't have the 10 or 9.9 scholarships to give. He's got more likely 6 or so.
And
he's not going to split them up. If he can get a good kid, he's going to give him a full scholarship. So therefore, your numbers are going to be, and that's what they have this year.
5 or
6 real strong kids, one good one, and maybe 3 walk-ons that just can't compete at this level.
And he knows that is going to cause him trouble in some dual meets, although they're quite strong here. But it's going to make a lot of difference in the nationals. He can take individuals in there who do really well. Remember, one year Clarion had 3 national champions in the same year.
Got blood.
That was 1974. I remember it well, and that was the Barton, Simpson, and Chalice, and that was quite an accomplishment.
Score is 4-1. Takedowns are a bundle for Iowa. We have 19 on our list for so far here. There is Moss Grays, 150-pounder for Clarion, and what you see in his left eye is the result of an injury he had at Iowa State on Thursday night. It was unfortunate. I think it was a finger in the eye, but it caused some damage, some retina damage, which they're thinking will probably heal, but it's going to take a while.
It's going to take 7 or 8 days, and so he disappointment on this trip not getting to wrestle, but thank goodness he's going to be okay.
Yeah, it was scary at the time because it was obviously a very painful injury. But there is Moss Grays. He's not in the lineup, and there was another. Here's a full scholarship man who had to be replaced by a walk-on.
So what we're talking about is depth is the problem in a program like Clarion. If they can stay healthy, they're going to be a factor in there for the trophies, which go to the top 3 teams.
You call it. Okay.
There we go. Gilbert going back to the middle again. The score here is Iowa 23 and Clarion 3. The one win for Clarion was at 134 pounds by TOMEO over Kevin Hogan. 7-6. The decision really was helped by riding time. He got the 6-6 on the board at the end, but TOMEO was better on top. Here comes Weber around spin move, and he's up 6-2.
Narum moved off the shot of his opponent right there and was able to stuff the head and scoot around him just real nicely.
6-2 here with 12, 11, 10 now. left in the second period.
That's one. Out. Neutral.
Don't see the switch all that often
seconds.
anymore, but it worked for a point for Gilbert, 6-3.
We're looking at the lopsidedness of the takedowns out here. And you're talking about the scholarship issue.
Choice.
I think there's a matter of
Takes down.
right here on
period.
this takedown right here, the shot. He got overextended right here. The Clarion wrestler did, and Iowa wrestler near him goes around him. A very nice two-point move. But, you know, you want to know if the mastering takedowns is a matter of superior strength, upper body, legs, overall, you know, style, technique, both or all. Well, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and, you know, we talked about back in the East in Pennsylvania, them liking to be on the mat a little bit more. And so I'd say it's a combination of the fact that this is a program with more credentialed wrestlers coming out who have wrestled freestyle in high school and are more dominant on their feet because of that kind of competition and that style.
Narum leads 7-3, but Gilbert, although outgunned, is still willing to put his nose in there. And this time when he did, Narum took him down for the third time.
Improve it or go off. Let's go.
In fact, fourth time. 9-3. He's in between the legs. He'd like to turn Gilbert back in and
Here we go.
pry him over on his back, but he hasn't able to do it. Now take a look at this again. Right on the edge. Right on the edge. As long as his supporting parts are in, those are the knees, he's still in bounds.
Well, Gable and Zaleski in Iowa, they like to score on the edge, and that's, you know, that separates them from most of the other schools. The top schools are out there scoring wherever they can get it. They create opportunities, they take opportunities, and one of those opportunities is let's score on the edge as often as we can. Make your opponent look bad. Make them, you know, make them aware that you're ready to go wherever we are, no matter how big or how small the area.
Now Narum is looking for some way to get Gilbert over on his back. He leads 9-3 here. He has 30 seconds to go in the second period. He's using his leg now to try to Turk or something here to get him up. But Gilbert has managed to hold his position underneath without, however, doing much else. And I wouldn't be surprised if referee Pullman were to have a comment about it here shortly. There is Narum forcing Gilbert almost to his back at the end of the second period.
Good period. Clarion's choice.
This is the kind of match that Narum needs too, a grinder type of match. Get after it, stay on top of it, and don't let up. It's a real important third period for him to just really get after it and maybe try to put him over and end it early.
Top man.
Gilbert. There's Dan Gable.
Here we go.
Just been named World Cup coach for the 10th time for the USA Wrestling's World Cup coach. That'll happen after the NCAA season in April in Chattanooga.
Weber took Gilbert down and then kicked the leg out from under him on a single and makes it 11-4.
That's one.
That's how many takedowns? 5 for Narum. Another escape.
Out. Neutral, guys.
Clarion's Joel Gilbert. Remember, coming up at 177, we'll see Kurt Heidemann.
That's two.
For Iowa.
Boy, he's turning it on right like we talked about. A little outside single there. Now look at duck under. Nice duck.
He's up to 15-6. He's just overwhelming.
That's one.
Gilbert. He's let him go on 15-7. This is one of these adding machines.
That's right. He'll be able to end it inside 30 seconds. There's two. Yep.
And it's knees in, so therefore.
Here we go. Center.
So therefore, Narum gets the 2. He's up by 10 now, 17-7. He has 3 minutes of riding time as well.
End up in a good position. End up in a good position.
Top man. After start.
He's going to give him the international start. That's one of the rule changes this year too. If the man says, I'm going to start the international start, the official has to tell the man on the bottom and give him one chance to adjust. Gilbert still working at it, even though he's outgunned. Comes in on Narum, but does not have any kind of good position. And so Narum is liable to turn this into back points at the very least. He's got a reverse Nelson here.
And just tough. If he can cinch it up, we've got If he can keep that chest to chest.
I think he's getting himself in position. He has 30 seconds to go.
Adjust, 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 adjust. Get the weight, make myself heavy, make myself heavy. That's what he's saying. Oh, he lost it.
Oh, managed to get out, but a 3-point near fall. 20-7. 15 seconds to go. Narum of Iowa racking them up here in the third period. And he has almost 4 minutes of riding time. There's the end. With riding time, it's 21-7 in favor of Narum of Iowa. And that allows his team, the Iowa Hawkeyes, after 158 pounds, to go up 27-3. 27-3 in favor of Hawks. I don't think anybody's terribly surprised that the score is this big, even though the Clarion team has some outstanding individuals. A couple of them are hurt. A couple of them aren't wrestling. But when Iowa is in this building, I don't know, you better be from Mars, I think.
They got good wrestling up there in Mars.
I don't know, but they better have if they're going to come down to CARBAUGH Hawkeye. Kurt Heidemann. It's interesting, Kurt Heidemann has wrestled heavyweight.
Well, I mean, look at him. I can tell. I can tell you, he looks like he could handle some of those heavyweights up there, and he is chiseled out.
177. Finished fourth at the Midlands. Junior from New Hampton in northeast Iowa, and his opponent from Clarion State is Sean Armbruster, a junior from Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania. His coach says he's pretty powerful and pretty unpredictable. He's always interested to know which one of them is going to show up.
Well, Kurt Heidemann came to Iowa to play football, walked on the football team.
There he is.
Isn't playing football anymore. It was as high as 220 pounds when he was playing football. Now he's a 177-pounder, and I'll tell you, I don't know whether we could get much more off him.
Oh, I'll tell you,
he's
that's
lean
amazing.
and mean.
177, Iowa leads 27-3. There's Heidemann on a low shot on the edge. Nice move.
That's nice. He got that snatch single in there and kept good position and dumped that Armburst down. Armburst's pretty powerful himself, just looking at him. So these are two very well-matched wrestlers from a standpoint of strength and power, but Heidemann was able to execute a very nice snatch single.
Armbruster is one of the kids, one of these people who did not have a big high school reputation, but has done very well in college. The best high school finish he ever had was 5th in Pennsylvania.
And Heidemann, a two-time state champion from New Hampton. He won 117 matches in high school, including a 37-0 mark as a senior, and so he came in with credentials, as did a lot of these wrestlers from Iowa. Like I said earlier, it's one of the most credentialed teams that Dan's ever had, and Heidemann's just one of the lot of several-time state champions.
Well, you know, that's true. Interesting point over the years. Some folks said, well, you know, the Dan Gable classes for a long time as freshmen were not necessarily the biggest blue chip class. He didn't get the blue chip guys. He knew the ones. He knew the ones that were going to have the work ethic and the ones who would go his way and do well.
And he worries about that, you know, the 4-time state champions, the 3-time state champions. It's a new level now at college. Do they have the work ethic, or are they just naturally talented? Will they make the transition? And I know that Dan Gable is thinking about that the whole time, knowing that just because they came out of high school with a lot of credentials doesn't mean that they have what it takes to make it this new level. So he stays right on top of it.
Well, we were just talking about that a while ago. We're watching Heidemann and Armbrust. Name the number of 4-time high school champions who have won national titles. And we thought of 2, right?
Well, not technically still.
Oh, that's right. Well, McEnravy's a 5-time champion. The other one we could think of is Joe Gibbons. But, you know, there have been a lot of 4-time champions all around the country. And we're not talking about Iowa. There is a takedown for Heidemann. He's up 4-1. 4-1 here with just a few seconds left here at 177 pounds in the 3-minute first period. Iowa against Clarion at CARBAUGH Hawkeye Arena here on Iowa Public Television with Tim Johnson. I'm Doug Brown. There's Dan Gable. Familiar face to you, I'm sure, if you watched college wrestling over the last 19 years.
Nice takedown here by Heidemann. He's got some good, he's working good essentials right here, good basics and covering the hips and coming down for 2. And there's a man right there that wants his team not to just win, but he likes to motivate him to dominate him. You know, he wants to work on the essentials so that you can dominate with the basics. And that's what Iowa's trademark is, to dominate with the basics. They're great at takedowns, they're great at getting out, they're great at winning and dominating their opponents.
Right now, Heidemann has Armbruster under pretty good control on top, but right down flat on his stomach again. You don't score too many points when you're flat on your stomach. It's not the place anybody on the bottom likes to be, and as a matter of fact, you can get called for stalling under there, and that's just what happened.
That's just what happened. You're going to see is we see Iowa wrestle throughout the year that the coaches are always asking their wrestlers to build on the lead. Heidemann, the last thing they want him to do is to sit on this lead. They want him to build on the lead, and they're always looking for an edge and looking for how can we build this up.
He sucked Armbruster back and is now trying to work the hammerlock on him. He got him a little out of position by sucking him back off his sit-out. Leads 4-1 with a minute to go in the second period. Second period with in CARBAUGH Hawkeye Arena. Did we give the attendance a while ago? We had something like 5,000, and here it is, 5,124 for Iowa's first home wrestling encounter of the 1995 season.
Heidemann's still a little rough around the edges right here, and as he gets more used to wrestling all the time here, he'll be able to cinch those arm bars up a little tighter, feel the move a little better, and be able to turn them and not let the opponent out.
Get your back into him.
College wrestling in its 19th year. Dan Gable coaching 19 years. We sort of came into the
grew up
business
together,
at the same time. That's true.
Make it right.
Your 19th year?
Yeah, that's right.
You can't ever retire, Doug.
I've had the cane. My cane, however, is only about 3 years old. There's the escape. Weber gives one up after another takedown at 6-3.
You are Iowa Public Television College Wrestling, Doug.
A little part of it. Those are the people who are college wrestling right out there, year in and year out.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about, the fact that Iowa Public Television is putting out the best of their the best series, you know, and that opportunity to see some of those great matches
on video
over the last several years.
There is Kurt Heidemann getting his chance this year at 177 pounds.
Well, he's a banger. He just comes right after you, you know. He's kind of like from the old school, you know, get in there and bang and on top, chop and squeeze and
again, he took advantage there of Armbruster getting down too far, off balance. And a nice move, 10-3.
Little far reaching there, a little too far outside in his shot, Heidemann was, and Armburst turning into a front headlock, trying to do something on his own.
New start, guys.
Well, each man did the same mistake.
Set it up. Set something up now. Let's go.
Other side.
Trying to do with a BB gun what it needed a howitzer to do, a little more distance. Heidemann of Iowa in the black at 177 pounds. We have the Brian Stout, Joel Sherritt 190-pound match coming up next. The last year's national champion, Joel Sherritt, against one of the best young prospects who was an All-American last year, Brian Stout of Clarion.
You know what looks nice about this Iowa wrestler, Kurt Heidemann, is he keeps coming after you, keeps stepping in. It looks like he's in real good shape, and he just needs to keep good position, keep offensive-minded here. He's got pretty good position here, and he looks in good shape. Now he just needs to stay on the offense. In on the double, steps off to a single, pulls it in. If he can just dump it like he did right off the start, lower his hips there and start stepping back. Look at that.
Nice dump move. Nice move. He's done that twice. 12
variation there.
He now has a major decision territory.
Here we go. Action.
12-4. You can hear referee Pullman talking to people out on the mat. You are able to hear what the 5,124 folks here are unable to hear. Riding time is more than 3.5 minutes for Heidemann. There's no doubt he's dominated all the way. And that's it. Riding time makes it 13-4. It is a major decision.
Good solid win.
For Heidemann.
Good solid win for Kurt Heidemann.
(30-3). It's Iowa over third-ranked Clarion. 31-3. Have to take that back because of a major decision there. And that is Joel Sherritt. That is Brian Stout.
Well, another one we've been waiting for right here.
The national champion is Sherritt, ranked number 1. Stout, undefeated, is ranked number 4.
These are good for wrestlers like Joel Sherritt to come out kind of the second season and have to perform, you know, and have such a tough test. And it's good to be tested in early January.
He wanted to walk right in and go chest to chest with Stout, but the sophomore from Barnegat, New Jersey, to the Southern Regional High School there. His coach says he's a horse. He's big as he's as big as Sherritt. They're both big, strong people.
Your head in position.
Out of bounds.
And whether or not he is able to come right at you as hard and as often as absolutely as persistently as Sherritt is remains to be seen.
Sherritt really hasn't been tested all year, and so this is a good way, like I said, and needs to open up here and get after Stout, because Stout's the kind of guy that's going to get after you. He's not intimidated. Stout probably, that music that was playing and the clapping hands going on and all that would sometimes just make a lot of visiting wrestlers want to turn and running back into the locker room, and I doubt if that's the fact with Brian Stout. It probably just turns him on and says, let me at him.
I'll tell you, he came from a New Jersey high school, and in his senior year, Brian Stout was not scored on. Not only was undefeated, nobody scored a point against him. Now that sounds strange, even in the escapes. Maybe other than an escape. But that's what it says in the book. There's Sherritt. First real takedown shot. He's in on the single leg. Can he do it? What can he do here with Stout?
Look at that.
There it is.
So many options from that snatch single right there. Trying to shuck him by this way, came back and knocked him down.
Right up, let's go. Put your knee on the mat.
2-0. The national champion against one of the undefeated
Come on, Stout, pick it up a little bit. Lock the hose.
young prospects at that weight. Set up here.
Bottom man set, top man.
Sherritt was a two-time state champion out of Bloomington, Minnesota, Kennedy High School, and looking to be a two-time NCAA champion.
Good hand control there by Stout. He got out 2-1.
Circle.
He goes again on that 2-on-1 situation up on the feet, but he has not yet indicated to Joel Sherritt that there's anything to worry about that he can't overcome. Sherritt got the only takedown on a single leg.
Sherritt, as he's shown, has good leg attacks, but Stout is just that. And he's hard to get into time and time again.
He just keeps coming. It's 2-0. It's a 2-1 here. Sherritt over Stout. That's Jack Davis calling out some advice to his wrestler. You suppose he heard him? Now he's single leg by Sherritt. Changed levels and came right down after working up high.
And see, he got the takedown. And he got back up in good position, and he went from there. So he was in on the leg, then he made sure of his position, and that's all it took was to complete that takedown, was to be in good position, because Stout went down then, because what that did was automatically put Stout in bad position.
Just 15 seconds left in the first period, and Joel Sherritt, last year's national champion,
Look at this. He's in, but what Sherritt's doing is just trying to say, get me in good position. Good position. Get down, get the hips underneath. That's all it took.
Yeah.
The move was done there. As soon as he had good position, Stout had to go down because he took that position. That's what you want to do as a wrestler is you take the position away from your opponent, make your opponent look bad. And the best way to do that is to stay in good position yourself.
Well, okay, there's a Granby roll for an escape.
We're one takedown away from a lesson happening right here tonight, though.
There it is, 4-2 in favor of Sherritt. Now, what do you mean by that?
I think we've got. Here, go ahead. No.
Oh, here's what's happened so far. That first match was a dinger that Mena won. 2 undefeateds there, numbers 1 and 2. Mena wins. And there was a forfeit for McGinnis, injury for Crawford. TOMEO beat Hogan. That's the only point so far for Clarion, and Iowa's won all the rest of them. We'll show the other results a little bit later. McElravy had a fall. It's the only pin we've had so far. But we've had some majors.
That's one.
I just think Joel Sherritt has a chance right here to say there's a big gap between me and you, between first and fourth. He has a chance right here to do it. If he doesn't let up, and if he's thinking that way, this could be a big-time win. And what I'm talking about is not just a win, but a lot of points.
There's the rest of it. McElravy pinned Perneski in about 1 minute and 2 seconds. Major win for Weber over Antonio. Major for Narum over Joel Gilbert. Major for Heidemann over Armbruster. They're leaving nothing to chance here at all. There have been big decisions here in the upper weights for Iowa. And here, between 2 ranked wrestlers, it looks the same way. It's 7-3 now in the second period for last year's national champ, Joel Sherritt of Iowa. His team leads 31-3.
See, I think Sherritt's one of those wrestlers that can be as good as he wants to be, as good as he decides to be throughout a whole match, like the Brands brothers were, you know. And right here, if Sherritt stays on, there's nobody can stay with him. It's up to him.
8-3. And that was a penalty. That was a penalty move. And it's a 5-point difference.
Here's where you want to keep that pressure on. You want to keep coming after them and make them start doing things that aren't so smart to your opponent just because you're dominating.
Well, now this is one of those situations where I'm sure Brian Stout, it looks as if he knows what position is. He'd like to keep good position. He'd like to set up out there, but he would just like to have Joel Sherritt get away from him long enough for him to keep it.
Right, and standing will get him in trouble, and he's got to keep moving, but standing will get him in trouble. He needs to crack Sherritt's stance and get in on the legs, just like you said, but that's easier said than done, and you know, Sherritt just needs to keep popping the head, creating opportunities, dropping in on the single leg. He's done a nice job so far.
If you're enjoying today's wrestling as well as all the outstanding programs of other kinds during the year, you should know about a group of Iowans called Friends of Iowa Public Television. 70,000 Iowans, through membership and friends, provide 90% of the funds needed for production of programs on this year's statewide network. And if you'd like to show your support and be a part of the group, simply send your check for $30 or more to Friends, Post Office Box 1010, 1010, Johnston, Iowa, 50131. That address again, Friends, Post Office Box 1010, Johnston, Iowa, zip code 50131. Your financial support will help Iowa Public Television continue to be a resource for Iowa's future, and it'll help us continue to bring you college wrestling.
Okay, here we go.
31-3 in favor of Iowa. Nosebleed seems to be patched up now, and out comes Brian Stout against Joel Sherritt. Stout trying to pummel a little bit, see if he can get a little bit more out of it than he's been getting.
He shot with his elbows out there, and he's just trying to get something going. I'm talking about Brian Stout from Clarion. Young man, ranked 4th in the nation, just can't get it going against the #1 ranked wrestler. We're seeing why Joel Sherritt's #1.
There's no injury timeout, as you know, for a nosebleed. You figure you can't fake blood. So that seems to be evidence that the injury is real. Oh, there's Kathy Gable and Mac Gable, Dan's father on the right, sitting on her left. We're at 190 pounds. There's Mac. In CARBAUGH, Hawkeye, just one of some 5,100 fans here for opening night of the Iowa home season. And there's their man, Dan Gable. Can you believe that? 21 Big Ten titles in a row Iowa has won, and they have taken over 12 NCAA titles during that period as well.
Well, he's been called the best coach of any sport in the history of sports, in history of college sports. And, you know, arguably, that is correct. And there's nobody that's ever done what he's done.
And if you want to argue with him, he can probably wrestle any basketball coach who thinks he's probably better. Now they go at it again here in the middle. This is Stout in the blue from Clarion, whose team trails 31-3. These are two undefeateds against each other, but Joel Sherritt leads 8-3. Now Stout has been a little more active this time. He's moving a little more.
And that stopping probably helped Stout to try to refocus and get back. And so what Joel Sherritt needs to do is pick it up now and get after it and get it back to where he wanted it.
Now, I'm sure that he was told by, well, I don't know, he couldn't have been told because his coaches are not allowed to coach him.
Here, just pick this up. Just pick it up. Set.
All right, we're back at it again. That's referee Pullman sets him up to go with 10 seconds to go in the second period. Sherritt leads by 5.
Sherritt trying to work that inside position and trying to get in tight so that closer to the guy he can get, the better penetration he can get. He's getting good penetration.
We're going to have to fix it again. Let's fix it right now, okay? Run over there.
Looks like
Trainer,
Eric Stroner from Webster City, who's going to be at heavyweight. Iowa weighed in 2 heavyweights today, Eric Stroner and John Daigle.
Come on, bring it over.
And it looks like Stroner is going to go. He went from Webster City to Northwestern University and then transferred back to Iowa.
She's got some big cotton. She's got some cotton ones.
We have 2 minutes to go, and again, the nosebleed is a problem for Brian Stout, so Joel Sherritt has to just kind of pace around and amuse himself for a while. It's been Iowa's meet. 1 loss in the way. That was at 134 pounds when TOMEO, who is a very fine, very respectable wrestler, beat Kevin Hogan of Iowa 7-6 on riding time. Sherritt leading 8-3, starts the third period on top.
Sherritt loves to be on top. He's turning everyone this year. He likes to turn. He loves to be in there and try to get those cross faces there and hurt the guy on top. Look at these.
He brings him into his lap. He's one of those sit him down types. Oh, nice move by Stout.
And you can't. I mean, there's a good example of Stout saying, "Don't fool around with me." You know.
I didn't get here by
nice
green stamps, but Sherritt
slipped the leg right there and came around the corner. As Roy
saves
Salzer,
the position.
Who makes Sherritt, who makes Heidemann, who makes those guys in the upper weight as good as they are, world class. Trying to make the 1996 Olympic team is former NCAA champion Roy Salzer.
And I think he said this is his last year, isn't it? International wrestling, I believe.
He's going for the 96 Olympics, and that will be it. He just won his a Midlands championship, and that was his last Midlands championship.
Oh, that was it. The last Midlands, he said. Again, Sherritt is pushing really hard on Stout. This time Stout moves around, but Sherritt manages to counter.
Score here, right up. Come on.
We have a minute left to go in the match with an 8-4 score.
This is where Sherritt, of course, they both want to stay intense, but Sherritt needs to stay intense and finish off the job he started and get in there and really get after it and grind.
Real quick. Got another one?
Referee stops the match again just to bring out one of these cotton pieces for the nose.
And that's the last thing Joel Sherritt. Now, this is the kind of thing that Sherritt, as a veteran, knows how to take care of is when a match is.
If you want to meet the people and go to the places and participate in the events that make Iowa unique, then tune in to Living in Iowa every Friday at 8:30 and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. from river to river and border to border. Morgan Halgren introduce you to your neighbors. Only statewide video journal. It's Living in Iowa, Friday at 8:30, Sunday at 7:30. And here on Sunday afternoons at 2, we have college wrestling for you. 2 times we'll be on Saturday nights with specials. And this is Clarion, ranked number 3, against Iowa, number 1. And it's Iowa 31, Clarion 3 at 190 pounds. It's Sherritt 8, Stout 4, Iowa over Clarion again.
You know, if the bloody nose hadn't happened, this would have been a real runaway for Sherritt. But Sherritt, like I was saying to finish the thought, as a veteran, you got to deal with what you deal with, and he's in a match right now that's not going along the way he would like it to because of all the stoppage, but he's going to stay right in there and stay tough.
Just blood. Here, just wipe it. There you go. Let's go. Set.
Get ready, get ready, get ready.
8-4, front headlock for Stout. He has had no takedowns, all escapes. And he's been unable to penetrate Sherritt at all.
There's the single again. Sherritt has to stay out so that he doesn't get caught in bad position. Coming up, hips under, now he's got it.
Yep, 10-4.
Always concentrating on good position.
There it is at the end. He had riding time as well. He fell 1 point short of a major decision. And it was 11-4. Sherritt over Stout. And Iowa now goes up 34-3. We have one to go, my friend. It's heavyweight. Very fine ranked wrestler for Clarion against Iowa's Stroner. And I'll tell you, ranked or not, I think Dan Gable believes that Stroner can beat this man. I know he does, in fact, and he's telling him that right now.
Yeah, Stroner says, just get me ready, slap me around, and wake me up, Coach, before I go out there. And that's what Dan did with a couple of slaps.
This is Dan Payne from Clarion. He finished first at Wilkes, first at Las Vegas in big-time tournaments. And last year, he was a 177-pounder. And you know who beat him in the Nationals?
Whoa!
Oh, there we go. Stroner has him headlocked. Stroner has Payne headlocked. He has the takedown, and now he's trying to force him over
man, he's getting it tight.
This would be a big one. And Dan Gable is saying, do it, I know you can do it.
I guess we just,
He has 2 minutes and 20 seconds to work here, and the crowd is cheering to try to get him over.
Got to settle those hips. Can't get rolled through.
There, almost. Payne was 177 pounds last year, but here he is about to go. I'm telling you that the crowd is happy because they see an upset here at the end of this meet. Well, Dan Payne, but I know very well. I know that Dan Gable is convinced he was going to beat this man.
Well, and let's get real here. That might be considered the weak link on Iowa's team, the heavyweight. And Stroner and Gable want to get rid of that myth, and that was a big step towards that myth. They're strong up and down the lineup.
An impressive win, an impressive finish. The pin made it 40-3. Iowa over Clarion, number 1 over number 3. 2 falls in there, one right at the end, a big shocker for, I know for the Clarion folks, deeply disappointed over that. And I was going to say that Dan Payne lost at 177 pounds last year in the Nationals, and he lost to Greg Stiltner of Iowa. So, it's all over here. It's a big win for Stroner at the end. There was a pin for McElravy in the middle at 150 pounds. There was a big win between numbers 1 and 2. Mena managed to edge Sheldon Thomas at 118. You're going to hear more from the individuals, and some of the individuals you did not see on this Clarion team because they have been injured. They're a better team than they showed here tonight. As individuals, that certainly has to be true, but you know what Iowa's like. You know that this is not Iowa over its head. This is Iowa, a good team, obviously. There's Lincoln McElravy.
And everybody saw it coming. Everybody's expecting it, and Gable and company are not going to disappoint.
Happy folks there in the Iowa crowd. Big smile up there by Mr. Stroner, who said, had it all the time. Had it all the time.
This is a good way to, I've never had this opportunity at Northwestern in front of so many people. It's good to be back home in Iowa.
So it's 9 wins for the Hawks out of 10 matches. 2 of them pins, 1 of them forfeit, unfortunately for the Golden Eagles at 126 pounds. We're enjoying this season. It's just started, and once again that final score is 40 for Iowa, 3 for the Golden Eagles of Clarion, ranked number 3, at least right now.